Hello, I hope you're having a wonderful day. In the touching story of little Maya, her mother Huyen, and Uncle D, the backdrop of Vietnam's mountainous regions becomes even harsher due to ferocious storms and devastating landslides. Every year during the rainy season, from June to November, the northwest and Truong Son mountain ranges tremble under the destruction of winds gusting up to level 12, torrential rains pouring down, triggering sudden flash floods. The already nutrient-poor hillside soil, combined with deforested trees, easily collapses, sweeping away homes, fields, and even entire peaceful villages. Thousands of households are forced to evacuate, and children like Maya witness their homes vanishing in the blink of an eye. Yet, amid these natural disasters, human kindness shines brightly. Uncle D wades through streams, bringing rice and warm blankets to every family, helping Huyen and Maya rebuild a temporary shelter. These small acts not only save lives, but also sow hope, turning pain into the strength of unity, ensuring that Vietnam's mountains remain forever green despite the storms. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss our upcoming videos. Our home, Huyen and Maya's, collapsed under the fury of the storm. But today, we rise again, hand in hand, ready to rebuild everything from the ground up. Join me on this journey, where hardship turns into strength and love becomes the fire that keeps us moving forward. Dear friends, when nature unleashes its full power, even D and Huyen's small bamboo home couldn't hold out. The winds howled, tearing everything apart, leaving behind only shattered wood, scattered memories, and silence. In just a few moments, everything they built was gone. And in that silence, Huyen realized she had to start over from nothing. But the question is, will D break under the storm's weight? Or will he turn adversity into power and build something even stronger? Because the storm's destruction wasn't the only test, it was also the promise D made to Huyen. The vow that no matter what happens, he would never let go of her hand. Will that love shine bright enough to guide them through the darkness? Will D stay true to his word? Or will everything crumble once more, like the broken house beneath the storm's rage? Join us in this emotional story of love, promises, and destiny, where every choice could mean losing everything or finding hope again. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next chapter of their journey. The storm had just passed. The world was quiet again, too quiet. Day and Huyen walked back toward what used to be their home, their small bamboo house that once stood proudly among the palm trees. Now, all that remained were ruins. The palm roof was gone, ripped away by the wind. The small yard was a pool of murky water. Mud clung to their feet with every step, every crack, every broken bamboo piece. It was as if the storm had torn open their hearts as well. Huyen stood still, unable to move. Tears welled up and streamed down her cheeks. Months of effort, nights of hard work, everything had vanished in a single night. Her voice trembled as she turned to D. "Love," she whispered, her voice barely audible. We really have to start over again, from nothing." Their daughter, little Maya, ran over and wrapped her small arms around her mother's legs. Her hair was damp, her tiny voice shaking but full of warmth. "Don't cry, Mama. We'll fix it again. We can do it." Day looked at the two of them, his wife and his daughter, and something inside him hardened. He stepped closer, took Huyen's trembling hand in his, and said, his voice steady and filled with quiet determination, "Don't be sad. I'm here. We'll start over. Together, we'll rebuild everything." And in that moment, amidst the ruin and the cold wind, a spark ignited, one made of love, trust, and an unbreakable will. Was it enough to face what was coming next? No one knew. But the storm had only taken their house. It hadn't taken their spirit. The wind still whispered through the broken bamboo, and water trickled softly, carrying bits of leaves and debris away. Dee tightened his grip on Huyen's hand and slowly stood up. That gesture, it wasn't just reassurance. It was a promise, a lifeline. He knelt down and started picking up the bamboo stalks, half buried in mud. Each time he lifted one, mud splashed around him, but his eyes stayed sharp, alive, burning with a stubborn fire that refused to die. Maya followed him, her little feet sinking into the soft ground. She bent down, trying to help, her small hands struggling to carry a few sticks of bamboo. "I'm gonna help Uncle D rebuild our house for Mama," she said, her voice trembling but bright. Huyen bent down and hugged her daughter tightly. Tears fell again, but these weren't just tears of grief. They were tears of strength, of life, of a heart reborn in the middle of despair. Her daughter's innocence had reminded her, hope is never gone as long as love is still there. By the next morning, their small yard had changed. The piles of broken bamboo were now sorted, cleaned, ready to be reused. The sun broke through the clouds, casting soft golden light over their muddy hands and tired faces. Dee lifted a broken pole and drove it into the ground with a hammer. Each strike echoed through the valley, like a heartbeat, steady and strong. One by one, the poles stood upright again, and with every thud, every nail, every push into the soil, they weren't just building a house, they were rebuilding faith. Day smiled at Huyen, sweat dripping down his face. "Do you see?" he said softly. "This house will stand again. As long as we're together, nothing can tear it down." Huyen smiled faintly, wiping the sweat from his cheek with her sleeve. "Yes," she whispered, "we'll do it again, as long as I have you and Maya." She rolled up her sleeves and began to gather the broken leaves and palm fronds, tidying up the yard as much as she could. The sadness still lingered in her eyes, but there was something new there now, determination. Maya's laughter filled the air as she ran around, bringing leaves to her mother, then running back to Dee with her hands full of small bamboo sticks. "Uncle D, I found more. Look." Her laughter mixed with the rhythm of the hammer, the rustle of bamboo, and the gentle hum of the wind. And somehow, amidst the ruins, those simple sounds became a melody, a song of resilience and love. By evening, the sky began to darken again. But this time, the air was calm. The house wasn't complete yet. Its roof was still full of holes, but it was standing again, proud and alive. Dee built a small fire in the middle of the courtyard. The flames flickered and danced, painting their faces in shades of orange and gold. Huyen sat beside him, gently stirring a pot of vegetable soup. The smell of smoke and broth filled the air, humble but comforting. The firelight reflected on three faces: a man with strong, steady eyes, a woman with a tender, weary smile, and a child whose laughter could soften even the hardest hearts. They sat close, their bodies huddled together, the crackling fire between them keeping away the cold that lingered after the storm. Maya leaned into her mother's arms, her eyelids heavy. "I love being like this," she murmured softly. It feels warm, like we already have a real home. Huyen looked at her daughter, then at the half-rebuilt house. The bamboo poles, the gaps in the roof, the flickering shadows, and her heart tightened. "Love," she whispered to Dee. "I'm scared. What if another storm comes? What if everything we build gets washed away again? I don't know how many times I can start over." Dee reached for her hand, his calloused fingers wrapping around hers firmly. His eyes were deep, unwavering. "Huyen," he said, "the storm can take away our roof, our walls, everything. But it will never take the love I have for you and our daughter. As long as we're together like this, we can rebuild again and again." Huyen's tears fell silently. She rested her head on his shoulder, whispering, "Don't ever leave me. I don't need a perfect house. I just need you and this home." Dee pulled them both close, the warmth of his arms blending with the fire's glow. "I promise," he said softly, "no matter how many storms come, I'll never let go of your hand. Tomorrow, we'll keep rebuilding. Together, the three of us." Maya suddenly lifted her head, her sleepy eyes now sparkling with excitement. "I'm going to help too," she said eagerly. "I'll pick leaves and gather bamboo so our house will be beautiful again." Huyen laughed softly and brushed the hair from her daughter's forehead. "All right, my little helper," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "Tomorrow, we'll all start together." Dee smiled as he watched them. The fire crackled between them, casting golden light over their faces. For a moment, everything felt peaceful again. Just the three of them, safe in each other's arms. Their laughter rose into the night air, mingling with the sound of the fire and the distant whisper of the wind. It was the kind of laughter that could chase away any darkness. And though the house was still only half built, something deeper had already been rebuilt: their faith in each other. That night, under the open sky, they fell asleep, huddled together. The stars shone faintly above, and the fire burned low, keeping away the chill of the damp earth. Even without walls, without a roof, they felt sheltered, because true safety wasn't built from bamboo or nails, but from love that refused to fade. When dawn came, the air was cool and soft. Mist floated above the muddy ground, and the smell of wet bamboo lingered. Dee woke first, stretching his sore arms and glancing at the house's wooden frame in the gray morning light. It still needed a lot of work, but it was standing. He smiled faintly and turned to see Huyen sleeping beside Maya. Her arm was wrapped protectively around their daughter, her hair messy from the night breeze, her face calm and tired. Dee reached out and gently brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. "Thank you," he whispered, "for not giving up." He stood and got to work before the sun had fully risen. The sound of his hammer echoed again, steady, rhythmic, determined. Every strike was a reminder of his promise. No storm, no matter how fierce, would ever destroy the family they'd built. When Huyen woke up, she found him already hard at work. She walked over quietly, carrying a small bowl of warm rice and vegetables. "You should eat something," she said softly. Dee looked up, smiling through the sweat. "Later, let's finish fixing the frame first." Huyen frowned, but couldn't help smiling back. "You're impossible," she said. "Fine, but don't collapse on me." She joined him, picking up bamboo strips, tying knots, securing corners. Maya skipped around them, her laughter echoing across the yard. She carried small pieces of bamboo and leaves, her hands muddy but her spirit bright. Hours passed. the house slowly took shape, one bamboo pole at a time. By afternoon, the yard buzzed with life again. The roof was being repaired, the walls patched with woven palm leaves. Huyen and Diep worked side by side, their hands moving in the silent coordination, each knowing what the other would do without needing to speak. At one point, Huyen paused, looking at Diep's back, glistening with sweat. She smiled softly. "You always work like you're racing the wind," she said teasingly. Diep chuckled. "Maybe I am. The faster we finish, the sooner you and Maya can sleep under a real roof again." Huyen's smile faltered slightly. "Duh," she said quietly. "You've always carried so much on your shoulders. You don't have to do it alone." He turned to her, wiping sweat from his brow. "I'm not alone," he said simply. "I have you." Their eyes met, tired, but full of warmth. It wasn't a dramatic moment, no tears or grand gestures. Just two people who had already lost everything once, realizing they still had everything that mattered. The days went by. Each sunrise brought new energy, and each sunset ended with tired but content smiles. The house, piece by piece, returned to life. Diep replaced the broken poles with sturdier ones. Huyen wove new panels for the walls. Maya gathered flowers from the forest edge and placed them around the yard, saying proudly, "Our home needs to be pretty too." By the end of the week, their bamboo house stood once again. Not perfect, but strong. The roof still had a few uneven spots, and the walls bore marks of the storm, but that didn't matter. It was theirs. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Diep stood outside, looking at what they had built. Huyen came to his side, holding Maya's hand. The sky was glowing in shades of orange and pink, and the sound of crickets filled the air. Huyen leaned her head on his shoulder. "We did it," she whispered. Again, Diep smiled quietly. "Yeah," he said. "The storm took everything, but not us." Later that night, they sat together by the fire again. This time, the flames burned brighter, reflecting off the freshly cleaned bamboo walls. The pot of soup simmered softly, and the air was filled with the scent of herbs and smoke. Maya sat cross-legged, munching on roasted sweet potatoes. "Daddy D," she said suddenly, her voice curious, "do you think another storm will come?" Diep paused for a moment, then smiled. "Maybe. Storms always come and go, but every time they do, we'll just build again, stronger than before." Maya nodded seriously. "Then I'll get stronger too. I'll learn to tie bamboo and make roofs so you don't have to do it alone." Huyen laughed, her eyes sparkling. "Our little builder," she said, ruffling Maya's hair. The laughter filled the night again. Simple, pure, and warm. When morning came, the sun shone brightly, scattering light through the gaps in the leaves. Birds chirped from the trees, and the yard smelled of fresh earth and new beginnings. Diep walked to the edge of the yard and looked at the horizon. The storm clouds were gone, replaced by a clear, endless sky. He took a deep breath, feeling the wind brush against his face. Behind him, Huyen called out, "Breakfast ready." He turned, smiling, and saw her standing in the doorway of their rebuilt home. Maya was beside her, holding a bowl too big for her tiny hands. As he walked toward them, his steps slow and peaceful, he realized something. The house wasn't just bamboo and nails. It was a living symbol of their love, a reminder of every storm they'd faced and survived. He sat beside Huyen and Maya, their laughter mingling with the morning air. Huyen looked at him, her eyes soft. "Thank you," she said, "for never letting go of my hand." Dee reached for her fingers and squeezed gently. "We promised, remember?" he said, "to walk together until the end, no matter how many storms come." Maya giggled, her small voice breaking the quiet. "Then we'll always have a home." They laughed together, the sound echoing through the forest like a song. And that, dear friends, is what this story wants to leave in your heart. Life will always bring unexpected storms. They may sweep away everything you've worked for, your comfort, your plans, even your peace. But if love still burns inside you, if someone stands beside you and holds your hand, then no storm can ever truly destroy you. Because home isn't just a place, it's the warmth you create together. And sometimes, it takes losing everything to realize what's truly worth keeping. So if you're watching this right now, and life feels like it's falling apart, remember Dee, Huyen, and little Maya. Remember that even in ruins, love can rebuild everything. Thank you for
Câu
being
chuyện
here
cảm
with
động
us.
này, Huyền
If
đoàn
this
tụ với
story
đệ
touched
sau
your
nhiều
heart,
tháng xa cách.
don't forget
Mối
to
dây liên
like,
kết của họ
subscribe,
được củng
and
cố
share it with
bởi sự
someone
vắng
who
mặt
might need
và
a
tình yêu
reminder
bền vững.
that love
Cùng nhau họ tập
and
trung chăm sóc
hope
cô gái
can
Maya,
survive
xây
any
dựng một
storm.
mái ấm an
On a
toàn và tràn
cold
đầy yêu
winter
thương.
morning, Day,
Đồng thời hỗ trợ
Maya,
Tử Vi,
and
một cô
Huyen
gái trẻ đang đối mặt
share
với
a
khó
simple
khăn.
breakfast in their
Những khoảnh
humble
khắc gia
home.
đình chuẩn bị bữa
Despite
ăn,
the chill,
dựng lên một nấu
warmth
chúc
fills
cho
the
Maya
room,
và
not
chia
from the
sẻ tiếng
fire,
cười,
but from love and
phản ánh
care.
tình yêu sâu sắc
Day
và sự
repairs
quan
his
tâm
old
lẫn nhau trong
motorbike
gia
to
đình.
take Maya to
Tuy nhiên,
school, while
sự bình
Huyen
yên của họ gián
quietly
đoạn
worries
khi những
about the
kẻ xâm
family's
nhập xuất hiện,
struggles.
tìm kiếm Tử
Beneath
Vi
Dee's
và
calm
làm nổi bật
smile
sự
lies
mong
a
manh
burden
và
from the
những nguy
past,
hiểm mà họ phải đối
the
mặt.
memory of Tieu,
Những căng thẳng và bất
someone
định.
he once lost
Huyền và Đệ
but
lên kế
never
hoạch cho
forgot.
một tương lai an toàn hơn,
Each small act
quyết
of
định trở về
kindness
miền Bắc
hides
để gần gũi
unspoken
hơn với gia
pain
đình
and
và mang
hope
lại
for
sự
a
ổn
better
định
day.
cho Maya.
But
Qua
just
những
as
thử thách,
peace
mối đe
seems
dọa
near,
và những
a shadow from
kết
Dee's
nối chân thành,
past begins
câu
to
chuyện ca
stir.
ngợi sức mạnh tình yêu,
Who
gia
is
đình
coming
và
back,
sự kiên cường trong công việc,
and what truth
tạo dựng
will
hy
it
vọng
bring?
và an toàn.